Once upon a time in the mystical land of Japan, a group of video game designers gathered to create a new hero that would captivate the hearts of millions of gamers worldwide. They knew they needed a character that would be instantly recognizable and loved, but they had no idea they were about to create one of the most iconic figures in the gaming world. Mario. Number 9. A hidden marble. The origins of the iconic video game character Mario can be traced back to the early 1980s when Nintendo, a Japanese video game company, released its very first game, Donkey Kong. This game was a hit, featuring a character who would later become one of the most recognizable figures in pop culture, Mario. Mario's first appearance was a carpenter, not a plumber as many think. And he was not the game's main character. Donkey Kong focused on rescuing Mario's girlfriend, Pauline, from the clutches of the game's antagonist, Donkey Kong. However, Mario quickly became a fan favorite, and it wasn't long before he was given his own game. Mario Bros. Was released in 1983 and featured Mario and his younger brother, Luigi, as the main characters. The game was a hit, and it helped establish Mario as one of the most beloved characters in the world of video games. It was also the beginning of a franchise that would go on to become one of the most successful and recognizable in history. But who were the creative minds behind Mario? Number 8. The backstage. The story begins with Shigeru Miyamoto, a Japanese video game designer who started working for Nintendo in 1977. Miyamoto was a talented artist and musician, and his creativity soon caught the attention of Nintendo's executives. Miyamoto's first project was Donkey Kong, and it was during the development of this game that he created Mario. The character was inspired by a number of sources, including a love of American comic books and the famous actor Mario Moreno. Miyamoto was also influenced by his own childhood experiences, particularly his love of exploring the outdoors and playing with his dog. He even once tried to teach his dog how to jump over barrels. But unfortunately, the dog ended up rolling into them like a certain mustached plumber we all know, so Miyamoto decided to make a game out of it instead. Miyamoto was not alone in the creation of Mario, however. He worked closely with a team of developers and designers who helped bring his vision to life. Among them were Takashi Tezuka, who co-designed Mario Bros., and many other Mario games, and Koji Kondo, who composed the iconic music that has become synonymous with the franchise. Together, this team of talented individuals created a character and a franchise that would go on to captivate audiences around the world. Mario has appeared in countless games, TV shows, movies, and even theme parks, and his popularity shows no signs of slowing down. Number 7. A slow villain. As the story goes, Miyamoto was trying to come up with a new villain for Mario to battle, but he was struggling to come up with something unique. One day, while out on a walk, he stumbled upon a group of turtles basking in the sun. Their shells gave him the idea for Bowser's design, and the rest, as they say, is history. But the best part of this anecdote is what happened next. Miyamoto apparently brought one of the turtles back to the office and kept it as a pet, hoping that it would inspire him further. Unfortunately, the turtle wasn't exactly cooperative. It kept escaping from its enclosure and causing chaos around the office. In the end, Miyamoto had to release it back into the wild, but not before it had served as the inspiration for one of the most iconic villains in gaming history. Can you imagine the chaos that must have ensued with a turtle running around the Nintendo office? It's a wonder that Bowser wasn't even more chaotic than he already is. But that's the beauty of Mario's creation. It was born out of a sense of playfulness and creativity, and Miyamoto's willingness to think outside the box, or in this case, the turtle shell, is what has made it so enduring. Number 6. Uncovering the magic. In Mario Bros., Mario and his brother Luigi were plumbers tasked with battling creatures that emerged from the city's pipes. The game was a huge success and cemented Mario's place in the hearts of gamers everywhere. But it wasn't until the release of Super Mario Bros. In 1985 that Mario truly became a global superstar. The game was a massive success and remained one of the best-selling video games of all time. In it, Mario traveled through the Mushroom Kingdom to rescue Princess Toadstool from the evil Bowser. Using his jumping skills and power-ups like mushroom mushrooms and fire flowers to defeat enemies along the way. With each subsequent release of a Mario game, his popularity only grew. He became a household name and an icon in the video game industry. But what made Mario so special? Was it his catchy theme music, his charming Italian accent, his mustache that could rival Tom Selleck's? It was all these things and more. It was the simplicity of the game that drew people in. No complicated storylines or convoluted controls, just pure unadulterated fun. Or it was Mario's infectious enthusiasm that kept people coming back for more. Have you ever seen the guy when he gets a power-up? He practically jumps out of his overalls. And let's not forget about the supporting cast. Who could resist the sassy Princess Peach or the mischievous Bowser? And don't even get me started on Yoshi. That little green dino stole our hearts from the moments he hatched out of his egg. Mario wasn't just about his cool mustache and funky overalls. His whole world made him a hit. Bright colors, tunes that stick in your head for days, and power-ups that let you do things like throw fireballs and grow into a giant, all combined to make a place that you just couldn't resist exploring. It's like a playground for your inner child. Number 5. The enduring legacy of Mario. As the years went on and technology advanced, Mario continued to evolve. He traded in his 8-bit graphics for sleek 3D models, and his adventures took him to new and exciting locations. But through it all, he never lost that special spark that made him so beloved in the first place. Behind the scenes, Nintendo worked tirelessly to ensure that Mario remained relevant and beloved by fans. They created spin-off games like Mario Kart and Super Mario Party to keep the franchise fresh, and they even gave Mario a new look in the form of Super Mario 64, which introduced a 3D version of the character that was groundbreaking for its time. And it wasn't just in video games that Mario found success. He starred in TV shows, movies, and even had his own breakfast cereal, which, by the way, was delicious. Today, Mario remains the face of Nintendo and one of the most beloved characters in the gaming world. He has become a cultural icon, with people of all ages and backgrounds recognizing his trademark red hat, blue overalls, and bushy mustache. So the next time you fire up your Nintendo Switch and dive into the latest Mario adventure, remember that this plucky little plumber has come a long way since his humble beginnings in Donkey Kong. Number 4. Mario's surprising origins and fun facts. As we marvel at Mario's evolution from Jumpman to the lovable plumber we know and adore today, it's fascinating to think about the origins of his name. Mario's name is just one example of the many twists and turns in his long and storied history, from a simple nod to his jumping skills to a nod to human inspiration. Did you know that Mario was originally going to be named Jumpman? Yes, that's right. His creators initially thought that his defining characteristic was his jumping ability, and so they named him after it. It wasn't until later that they settled down on the name Mario as a tribute to their landlord, who they thought looked like the character. Another little known fact about Mario is that he was almost a character in a Popeye game. Nintendo was originally in talks to create a game featuring the famous cartoon Sailor, but when those negotiations fell through, they created Donkey Kong instead, and the rest is history. Speaking of Donkey Kong, did you know that Mario's original design was based on the character of Popeye? In fact, his trademark hat and overalls were inspired by the sailor's outfit. It wasn't until later that his creators decided to make him Italian and give him his iconic mustache. And here's a real mindbender. Mario was actually a villain in his first appearance in Donkey Kong. Yes, that's right. He was trying to stop the titular ape from throwing barrels at him, but he was also trying to climb up the top of the screen to grab a hammer and use it to defeat Donkey Kong. In later games, he became the hero we all know and love. But the most interesting fact about Mario is that he's actually a trained plumber. Yes, that's right. His original profession in Mario Bros was plumbing, and he was often seen fixing pipes and battling enemies that emerged from them. It wasn't until later games that he started jumping around and collecting coins like a maniac. Ah yes, the best anecdote from Mario's creator, Shigeru Miyamoto. There are so many great stories to choose from, but one of the most memorable involves Miyamoto's inspiration for the character of Bowser, Mario's arch nemesis. Number 3. Timeless design. Did you know that the limitations of early video game technology heavily influenced Mario's design? Yes, that's right. His mustache was added to make his nose more visible, and his hat was included to avoid having to animate hair, and his distinctive jumpsuit, that was just a way to ensure his arms didn't blend into his body while he was moving. It's amazing to think that some of Mario's most iconic features were born out of necessity rather than design. His mustache and hat weren't just fashionable choices, they were practical solutions to the technological limitations of the time. It shows that sometimes the most creative ideas can come from the most unexpected places, like a plumber jumping on turtles, or a game developer trying to make a nose stand out in a pixelated world. But it wasn't just his design that was influenced by technology. The iconic Mushroom Kingdom that Mario calls home was also a result of hardware limitations. Originally, the levels in Super Mario Bros. Were going to be more realistic, but the limited processing power of the NES forced the designers to simplify the graphics and create the colorful, whimsical world that we know and love today. Behind the scenes, there were plenty of Easter eggs as well. For example, did you know that the original Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. Featured a hidden message from one of the developers saying thank you for playing our game, but you're not a real gamer, are you? Talk about some serious trash talk! Number 2. A console war. Even though Mario's developers knew he was the ultimate winner in the console wars, Sonic fans would beg to differ. The console wars of the 90s. It was a time when kids would line up outside video game stores eagerly awaiting the latest release from their favorite console. And at the forefront of this battle were two iconic characters, Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog. At the time, Sega was Nintendo's biggest competitor in the console market, and they knew they needed a mascot to rival Mario's popularity. So they created Sonic, a speedy blue hedgehog with an attitude to match. Suddenly, kids had a choice. Would they align themselves with the colorful world of Mario or the edgy, fast-paced world of Sonic? And so the rivalry began. Fans of Mario would boast about his jumping ability and his power-ups, while Sonic fans would argue that his speed and attitude made him the cooler choice. There were debates on playgrounds and in classrooms, and even some good-natured trash talk between the two camps. But when it came down to it, Mario emerged as a clear winner. His games consistently sold more copies than Sonic's, and his popularity endured long after the console wars had ended. And while Sonic still has a loyal fan base, it's hard to argue with the enduring appeal of everyone's favorite Italian plumber. Number 1. A magical moment. We all know and love the Italian plumber who has been jumping around on our screen since the 80s. But have you ever wondered how his voice came to life? Well, let me tell you about Charles Martinet, the man behind the voice of Mario. Martinet is a veteran voice actor, but will always be remembered for his iconic performance as a jolly, mustachioed hero. However, what you might not know is that his audition for the role was anything but ordinary. In fact, it was downright hilarious. As the story goes, Martinet was invited to audition for the role of Mario back in the early 90s, but instead of showing up in a suit and tie like most actors, he decided to go all out and dress up as a plumber. Yes, you read that right. He showed up wearing overalls and a tool belt, ready to impress the casting directors with his dedication to the character. Now, you might be thinking that this was just a silly gimmick, but Martinet's commitment to the role didn't stop there. When he entered the audition room, he didn't just read lines from the script. No. He brought Mario to life in a way that no one had ever seen before. Martinet started speaking in a thick Italian accent. He also added some of his own improvisations, like saying, "Mamma mia, and it's a me, Mario." The casting directors were blown away by his performance and knew they had found their Mario immediately. But Martinet's dedication to the character didn't stop at the audition. When he was offered the role, he continued to immerse himself in the character's world. He would wear a Mario hat and carry a plush toy of the character with him wherever he went. He even practiced his Italian accent by listening to tapes of Italian comedians. It's safe to say that Martinet's audition for the role of Mario was a stroke of genius. His dedication to the character and his willingness to go above and beyond the Call of Duty paid off in a big way. He has now been voicing Mario for over 30 years and is a beloved icon in the gaming community. Now that you know how Mario became the face of Nintendo, which Mario game is your all-time favorite? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting content about your favorite video game characters and franchises.